And joining me now to talk more about what Jim just discussed, Dr. Qanta Ahmed, author of In the Land of Invisible Women. Also with me, Zafar, national spokesperson for the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. Thank you both for being here. It's such an important conversation to have. Harris, let me begin with you. As a Muslim living in America, we just heard Jim say the president is very concerned about sort of this increasing anti-Muslim rhetoric. What do you want to hear from the president tonight?
Well, as Muslims who believe in the Messiah, Mirza Ghulam Ahmed of Qadian, we within the Ahmadiyya Muslim community believe that the safety and security of this nation is paramount. So what we want to hear is a thoughtful and mature approach to finally identifying that short-term and long-term solution that we were hoping for to finally get rid of groups like ISIS, to eliminate the threat. Short-term is to eliminate their imminent threat, to work with secular leaders in the Muslim world to muster up a force that ISIS can face that will destroy its infrastructure, halt its growth, and return the land, the conquered land, back to the countries in which they belong. But if it's only that short-term physical approach, it's still doomed for failure, which is why, under the guidance of the Khalifa of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, His Holiness has told us that the long-term solution is to partner with Muslim organizations in order to present a true, superior version of Islam that undermines the culture and the ideology that feeds the recruitment of groups like ISIS. So that's why we in the Ahmadiyya Muslim community are trying to push that forward by defining true Islam, with a campaign we're launching next month. And we hope that type of voice of defining true Islam can reign supreme, because that's a war of ideas that needs to win.
Let's take a listen to what Donald Trump had to say on CBS's Face the Nation this morning.
If they thought there was something wrong with that group and they saw what was happening and they didn't want to call the police because they didn't want to be profiling, I think that's pretty bad. People are dead. A lot of people are dead right now. So everybody wants to be politically correct, and that's part of the problem that we have with our country.
Qanta, do you think that he has a point that people are being too politically correct and therefore some potentially not speaking up about risk or threats?
It's very difficult to say, because it's Mr. Trump that is saying that. There's certainly been a struggle in the national conversation for the last year to identify Islamism, which is radical Islam, and distinguish it from Islam. My concern is the GOP presidential campaign particularly has so stoked anti-Muslim rhetoric, and the mainstream Republican candidates have not been able to pull back that conversation, that our president, the leader of the free world, is going to have a very difficult time tonight. We want him to reassure all Americans, those of us that make our home here. I'm becoming American on Friday. We are Americans as much as we are Muslim, Christian, Jewish, or anything else. There is not a competition. So he needs to reassure us while admitting we are engaged in a battle with radical Islam, Islamism, and that battlefield also includes our domestic territory. I testified to Congress 3 years ago in favor of surveillance for Muslim domestic radicalization, and I still stand by those arguments. But my concern is that the president has been disengaged in this conversation such that his remarks could potentially be obsolete, even though I welcome his efforts tonight. And his efforts tonight indicate just how critical this is. We're at more of a turning point now in the United States than I think we were immediately post 9/11.
Harris, I'd like you both to listen to this, because in the wake of what we saw in San Bernardino, Liberty University President Jerry Falwell Jr. told students this.
Yes.
I've always thought if more good people had concealed carry permits, then we could end those Muslims before they walk in and kill them.
Harris, your response?
No, actually, I tweeted about this earlier today. It's very sloppy, very dangerous language, especially for someone who is espousing to be a leader. And like Dr. Ahmed had said, this is the type of rhetoric we're hearing from some of people also that are vying for the presidency. And so this is where nowadays is different. We've heard the lunatics out there who have always espoused hatred for a specific group, whether they're Japanese, African-American, Jews, Muslims. But now we're seeing things like this, thought leaders who are influential in their circles, who are being very divisive in nature and saying to castigate an entire group of people simply because of the actions of the lunatics. So I call Jerry out for a public dialogue on this, because he's
Harris,
wrong.
let me ask you this as a follow-up. I saw you on Bill O'Reilly, and he asked you an interesting question. Said, you know, we need to see 1 million Muslim march, right, to have you and other leaders out there to make this more clear. What do you think of that idea?
Yeah, actually, I spoke with Bill even off camera, and yeah, the underlying point is this thought amongst some in this country that there hasn't been a visible show of unity of Muslims who are trying to pave the way forward for what is the real reaction of Islam. And so whether that's a physical demonstration or it's something that in a digital platform, we agree that we need to have a joint force, which is what we're hoping this True Islam campaign that we'll be launching next month will do just that, to call Muslim leaders together and non-Muslim leaders to define the principles by which we can define true Islam versus extremists.
And Qanta, let me read you this. This came from Hillary Clinton earlier today, talking about why she won't use the term radical Islam. She said, quote, "It helps to create a clash of civilizations that is actually a recruiting tool for ISIS and other radical jihadists." Do you agree?
I disagree. I disagree. It's actually Muslim scholars themselves for over a century who've identified that there is a deviant political ideology called Islamism, Islamism in English, Islamism in Arabic, which preaches not just violent Islamism as we've seen in San Bernardino and Paris, but also all of the underpinnings ideologically that lead up to that. It does not create a class of civilizations. I don't regard Islamism as a civilization. It is a political totalitarian ideology. To go back to the university president, shame on him. He is shaming the founder of this, of our nation, the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson, who studied the Quran and imagined the structure of our democracy as if to protect the then imaginary Muslim. So we are so far departed. I'm worried about Islamist assaults here in the United States on American soil, but I'm more worried about we and what we could do to destroy and dismantle the fabric of our own democracy. And that's what we look at in rhetoric, whether it's the president in Lynchburg or whether it's a potential president candidate. Stakes are very high.
Qanta, thank you very much. Harris, thank you very much. An important conversation. Thank you.